for my kids, I feel this pressure. I feel even, I would say, a fear of making the wrong decision because I don't want to mess them up. I don't want to miss something or not do a thing or put them in something that's not going to be, like, it just sometimes overwhelms me that I might choose a wrong thing for them, because not just for me. If I choose a wrong thing for me, then I'm the one, handling it. But if I choose it for them, it's like, well, that was my job, and now this. But I just wanted to give you guys hopefully some relief and some freedom. I remember when my oldest went to kindergarten, before he went to kindergarten, I just felt like it was this huge decision. Like, if I choose the wrong school, like, his life's going to be ruined. And turns out that, there are things in life that we just have to choose. It's not laid out for us, even in the Bible, like, you should put your child in this school. No, we have to, weigh and look at all the things and kind of figure that out. And also, I wanted to give you the just concept, I guess, that it's okay to change your mind. Even in the middle of a school year, it's okay to go, this isn't working. I'm going to do something else. And that is, God has given you that. That's why you're the one that's making the decisions, because you can see those things for them. So I'm going to give you a quiz at the end. So if you already know the answer about how many kids I have, don't say. But I'm going to tell you about our schooling things and then see if you can keep track, okay? So my oldest, who I was like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know if I should put him here or put him there. Well, he's now an adult, which I don't even like to say that out loud, but he's about to be 20, and he's not, sometimes he works in the sound booth. He's not here today, but we'll have to ask him. But I don't think that whatever I did for him in kindergarten ruined his life, so it will be okay. Hold on one second. So there might not be a school choice that's the right thing for every person in this room. Everyone has a different family. Everyone has different children. So even for different children in your own family, the school choice you make might be different for them. So I have, right now, I have 2 kids at the public high school. And that was another hard decision when my oldest got to that point. Like, I had people telling me, like, this is the only right way and this is the only thing, and that's not necessarily true for everybody. I have one who's in middle school, and she does all her school mostly on the computer and goes one day to class. I have 3 in elementary school, and they do a 3-day program where they get most of their schooling done there, and we do extra things at home. And then I have one in TK that I just homeschool fully. So over the years, I've done other things like online school and co-ops and public charter where they go full-time, fully homeschooling. So over the years, it's okay to shift. It's okay to look at your child and say, this child definitely needs to not be in my presence for math or whatever it might be. And, it's okay to have different choices. I have one of those for sure. Think about your family dynamics, maybe your husband's work schedule, and maybe he's off during the week and you don't want the kids gone at school, or maybe you do. Think about your family as a whole and not just, oh, this school I want. Like, what's going to fit into your family? You like to go traveling a lot and you want to do your school while you're on the road, or you definitely need to work some of the days, so you need them to be in school. So just try to, while you're listening to all of the information, just think about what would fit best into your family. If you have a child with special needs, there's just a lot of reasons that certain things might fit for you. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because there are a lot of choices. But we have a paper in front of you that gives you some resources and has some room for you to take notes. And then our panelists are going to answer some questions. And then when we're done with that, there's a table on the side, and they're each going to be sitting over there so that you could go talk to the person that you'd like to find out more from about that type of school. There's a little sign in front that tells you which type their school is, and that way we could have a little more time for questions that are specific to each person. So without further ado, I don't know how heavy this is. I feel like we should put it down so you can see. Oh, thank you. I was like, I don't want to do this by myself and break my leg. Thank you. Nice, so strong. No, I don't need that. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to have each of these lovely ladies introduce themselves. I think there's another, is there another microphone on your side? Okay. So maybe we can go in, and then next time we can go out and out. Does that work? All right. Sounds good. Let me get my It's fine. No one, I don't think anyone chewed on this or anything. Okay. So for each of you, if you would just tell us about yourself, just tell us your name and tell us a little about your family, and then which type of schooling you're representing today and why you've chosen that for your family, or why it's a good choice if it's not the thing you're doing right now. Sound good? Name, family, school choice, and why. We can start here and go in, and then you can start there and go in. Okay, go. Good.
My name is Lauren. I have 4 boys from 10 months old, who does not sleep at all, to 13 years old, and a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old in between. We do public charter homeschool, and that choice really, it kind of came about. We were actually sending our firstborn to his first day of first grade, and sending him out the door, we were still saying, do we want to keep him home? And he was going to have the best teacher too. And we just said, we got to do it, we got to try it. It was just a choice because, like you were saying, of our personal schedule. We wouldn't see our children very often if we didn't keep them home. My husband's a pastor, and if you have very busy weekends and homework and all of that, it's sometimes hard to squeeze in that quality family time. So all the way to that first day of first grade, we were still debating, but we landed on homeschool, and we went with a charter to help guide our plans.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm married to an active duty Marine, and we have 3 boys ages 13, 10, and 7. And we homeschool using the private school affidavit. We've been homeschooling since my oldest was in kindergarten, and at the time, we were still developing family traditions and what our rhythms as a family were going to be and how we wanted to train and disciple our kids, and sending him as a newly minted 5-year-old to all-day kindergarten was not my jam. I didn't want to sacrifice that time with him. I wasn't ready, and we just wanted to be really hands-on. It works really well for us in the military, around deployments, or travel for weeks on end for training for my husband and his long days and our many moves. It provides consistency and structure for us.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I have 2 boys, 11 and 8. We chose dual immersion, and the reason that we chose dual immersion is that in the area that we live and with our family, we have family that are Spanish speakers, so we really wanted to embrace the culture and give our kids an opportunity to speak a second language from the start, and it seemed like such a great program of where they learn to speak Spanish bilingually by 6th grade, so we really liked that option. And I'm going to pass.
I'm Pam. We have 2 littles, 6 and 4, and we homeschool, but we utilize an enrichment program. We always knew we wanted to homeschool for many reasons. But the biggest reason why we chose an enrichment program is because of my health, actually. So I needed someone else to do basically the bulk of the teaching.
Oh, hi, I'm Sherry. I'm married with 2 children. I have a daughter, Caitlin, who's 12 in 7th grade, and a son, Wyatt, who's 14 in 8th grade. And I am here to talk about public schools. I live here locally, and my children go to the local public school, and they have gone there since kindergarten, and we've been really happy with that choice. I also substitute teach in the public school district where my kids attend, and I also help here in the MomLife class downstairs in the 4, 5, and up-year-old class. And I feel like having my kids go to public school full-time gives me the opportunity to give back and work with other children and volunteer here at church, as well as I really enjoy having them in public school because I want them to be exposed to different cultures, different disabilities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and give them the opportunity to see the real world, and then they can be a light for Jesus in the public school. And we also attend Riverview Church here, so I feel like they're able to get their core values and their fill up with Jesus during other times. And they also did the Awanas program, so I feel like even though they're not learning the Bible at school, there's still ample time for that. So I felt like it was a good balance to do both, or they could fit both in by still attending public school. So that's the reason we chose to do public school.
Hi, I am Janae Kramer, and we have 3 kids. We live here in Fallbrook, 1 in college and 2 in high school. And we chose a private school, and after trial and error of public school, some like public school, homeschool, and then a charter school, we landed, which shows it's okay to switch schools. They're fine. We landed in private school. I love the biblical worldview. That was a big one. And just being in a nurturing environment where the love of Jesus is shining through the teachers and the families and that community. Our life being on one K through 12 campus has been a blessing to our lives. And I think those are the big reasons why we made that switch, and it works for our family, and we've remained there since I've passed maybe 10 years, something like that. So.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Brooke. I have 4 kids, college through middle school right now. We moved to Fallbrook in 2010, and that's when we were really making the big schooling decisions for our family. I've done it all, all the things. So public school, private school, charter school, independent homeschooling, private school affidavit. But today, I'm representing homeschool groups, homeschool co-ops, that kind of thing.
Hi guys, I'm Amy. I have 5 kids, 14, 9, 7, 4, and a 1-year-old. My family does a hybrid public charter. So what that means is they get to go on campus a couple days, and then they stay home and homeschool a couple days. So we chose that. We also have done other things: private school, homeschool, public school, all the enrichment stuff. But this felt like, for us, it was the best of both worlds. So getting to go on campus and be with kids, and also be home with me and sometimes grandma. And so we felt like it was the best of both worlds.
Thank you, guys. Good job with the back and forth. I appreciate it. You guys, aren't we so blessed to have so many choices for our kids? There's so many options. I forgot, before we do the next question, because I forgot to quiz you guys. So did anyone who didn't already know keep track of how many kids I have? Not 6. What do you think? 8. Yeah, I have 8 kids. So they've done a lot of different schools, and Good job for doing your math. I didn't mean to make you do a math problem today. But so we'll go Amy, Brooke, and then we'll go back out. Does that work? Just keeping your eyes bouncing around. So the next question for you guys is to tell us about what a typical school day or week would look like for your children. Tell us kind of how much time and effort you put into it, and like how much you need to do. Like, are you doing lesson planning? Are you doing the teaching? Are you driving? Are you doing extracurriculars? Are you going to meeting teachers? Like, what is your part of it? And then what are your children doing throughout the day or throughout the week?
Okay, so my elementary school kids go twice a week on campus, and then we homeschool 3 days. My middle schooler goes 3 days on campus, 2 days at home. So home days, I really encourage my kids to sleep in. So I don't have like a 9 a.m. wake up call, 8 a.m. wake up call, sleep in as much as you can. We homeschool, so why not? Kids need that extra sleep. And then, I have the 2 younger ones, so I'm kind of refereeing them and then trying to homeschool. And so there's not like, 10 a.m. we're doing math. And then we switch to, no, it's like just try and do what you can do on the couch, on the floor, or whatever. But if it was just straight homeschool, it'd be about 2.5 hours for the littler one, middle one maybe 3 hours, and my 8th grader, she is completely independent, so I don't have to do anything for her. And she's been independent since 5th grade, which it depends on your kid. And then the younger ones definitely need more time and attention. Lesson planning, so we choose to use the public charter's curriculum, so I'm not lesson planning. It's laid out for me. I don't have to do too much at all. Organizing, we organize little by little throughout the day, so it's not a ton of extra stuff. Shuttling, it depends on how far you live to get to your campus. For us, we're like North Escondido. Campus is more South Escondido, and there's all that traffic, so it's like an hour to get to school. Extracurricular activities, we do kung fu, we do theater, and then the school offers gardening and dance and all sorts of things. Conferences are once every 6 weeks, and you meet with your licensed educator, your professional educator, and go over, the work that they've done for that week, questions that you may have, testing that they've done at school. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It says extracurricular, but let's keep that. There's another question about that. You're fine, but let's just more like how much time do you need to put into these things versus like what are they getting where they go? Thank you so much. Let's go to Brooke.
Okay, so again, how about this? What does a regular day look like? There is no regular day for my family. It changes every day, every week, every season, every year. That's been a growth place for me as a mom, learning how to flex with my kids and who God is turning them into and growing them into. When they were little, routine was a thing. We thrived on routine. That routine was early in the morning, and the first couple hours in the morning was our routine, and then the rest of the day just kind of spread like watercolor on a paper. Don't really know where it's going, what it's going to look like, but when it's done, it's lovely. In terms of actual homeschool groups, I'm going to try to stick to that and less personal and more what does it look like to be connected to a homeschool group and what does that day look like. San Diego County, even Riverside County, Temecula, the area where we are just has so many opportunities for homeschool groups, homeschool co-ops, homeschool programs, homeschool organizations, private as well as public. Someone is here representing the public, so I'm just going to stick with the private, smaller groups. On a day that you are meeting with your group, that could be once a week. Many families just meet once a week, and then the rest of the week would be filled. That one day could be your springboard, and then the rest of your week kind of springs off of that. So whatever you learned that day when you met with your group becomes sort of the subject matter of the week. That is a possibility. The rest of your week, it's about living life, it's about meeting up with friends, it's about focusing on the skills that are going to be specific to your child. You can also meet with your group more than once a week. Many homeschool families meet with multiple groups connected into 1, 2, or 3 groups, and so you've got this interconnectedness of community. When they're little, a lot of times the groups are more of interactive, social, exploratory, and so then at that point, you're not taking work from that group to go home and do. However, some groups do that. Some groups send you with some of your core work. So at the preschool through elementary level, your subject matter is mostly going to be your core skills. So your reading, your writing, your math, and then those are kind of infiltrate all of the other subject matter. How much planning do you do as a parent? How much engagement, how much time do you have to put into preparing? It's kind of whatever works for you. Some families put in a lot of time, some families put in less time. It's really beautiful how you can design your rhythm of your day, and then that turns into the rhythm of your week. You can tailor that to what is your family's natural rhythm. Who are your children truly, rather than making them fit into a schedule that someone else is designing for you. Homeschooling and working with groups allows you the opportunity to design a life and a curriculum for them that meets them right where they're at. Shuttling, yeah, that's real. And the older the children get, the more shuttling there is, and the further away it is from the local house point. And then the more kids you have, the more shuttling you do. I don't know how to get more specific without just telling you about my personal life, but I will happily answer specific questions later for you all.
Okay, so for us, for our kids, it's 8 to 3 every day, 5 days a week, and so it's very structured, which allows me to work, my husband to work, and so that is a blessing. So if you're in that situation, it works well. I would say it's a very structured day, very traditional schooling, classical, college prep-like. Your typical private school. The location with shuffling and your busyness will depend on where you choose. There's a couple in town, I think, a couple private schools, but those don't go all the way through high school, and that would be something to consider long-term. If you love the school and you're happy there, your investment to choose a K through 12 would be, I think, really important, and I would, put weight on that. That should bear weight in your decision-making on where you choose. Traffic is a thing, too, so you're, going to go to Vista, to maybe Tri-City Christian. Escondido has a couple Christian schools. Temecula has a couple to choose from. And that was just a quick Google search for our area. And so just consider that and consider traffic, your daily route, because, you're doing the back and forth. And so just be thinking about that. But their schooling is traditional with like arts and music all built into their day at school, which is a blessing. When our son went to public school, they were trying to bring music back, and so I don't know where they're at with that, but that was a nice thing that was just kind of built in for every child's day, and that goes from kindergarten all the way through high school. And then What else? Oh, parent involvement. So I would say as much or as little as you want. You're required, I believe most private schools require parents to serve. Ours is in particular 10 hours a year, which is actually very easy to accomplish. With working moms and dads, they tend to just always, they need help and they want parent involvement. A lot of things run on parents. Volunteer hours, and I think it's a beautiful thing building community. It's a great opportunity, if you don't work and you send your kids there, especially if your work is flexible, you can build your community around where you serve at the school, and that has been a tremendous blessing in my life. And I think that it served our family very well for building community. And trying to think of anything else I left out. I think that's it.
Okay, so my kids go to the public school, and they're at the middle school right now. Their schedule is 8 to 2:45, Monday through Thursday, and then every Friday they have early release where they get out of school at 1:15. And the elementary school is similar schedule. They go from 8:15 to 2:45, and the kinder releases at 2:30. They also have TK at the elementary school. And the first half of the year, the TK goes from 8 to 11:30, and then after Christmas break, now they have the opportunity for the TK to go full day at the public school. And the volunteer opportunities are ample. When my kids were in TK and kinder, I was in the classroom every week. The teachers love participation. They do have requirements. You do have to get background checked prior to volunteering, which I like, so there's not just random people in your child's classroom. And it was wonderful because I could volunteer when I wanted and see my kids constantly. Now that they're at the middle school, there's still plenty of opportunities for me to volunteer with them. Yesterday I went on a field trip to San Diego State with my 7th grader, and the day before that I went on a field trip to UCSD with my 8th grader and spent the whole day with them. They're very academic focused public schools that they attend, and they have lots of opportunities for the kids to see colleges and different things. They attend all around the community, and they always encourage parent involvement. The other thing that can adjust when your kids are in middle school, my kids do the sports teams, and so some days I'll drop them off at 8 o'clock and they won't be picked up until 4:30 if they have a practice. Like my son does soccer, he'll just stay there all the way until 4:30, and it's a long day, but he loves it. And then they also have free tutoring after school, so if your child wants to stay for that, some days the days are longer. One benefit of going to the local public school is that it's a 6-minute commute for me, so I'm there super fast and home super fast, and if there's a problem, my kid needs to be picked up, I can be there 6 minutes, and so that's how a typical day looks for me.
Just in case you guys don't know what TK is, because I think that's hasn't always been a thing, but it's transitional kindergarten, so the year before kindergarten, depending on your kid's birthday, but they've changed it earlier and earlier, younger and younger. So my youngest is 4. She turned 4 in May, and this past fall she was able to qualify to start TK, which just means with our charter we can get funds to buy curriculum and classes for her. So that's probably the closest to some of your kids' ages, so I just wanted to make sure you guys know what that is. You can ask more about it at the tables if you need to. Okay, Pam.
So with my 2 kids, my daughter goes to a 3-day program. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Monday and Friday she's home with me. Again, they do the bulk of the teaching for me. So anything that we do on Monday and Friday is basically supplemental, just encouraging whatever they are learning at home, or if we want to learn about something different, that's totally fine. We're also very lax with what we do. We don't have a set schedule, except for those 3 days. It's here locally, so it takes me about 10 minutes to get to the place. And my son attends their TK program, so 2 days a week. Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, and then the rest of the time he's home with me. And again, also very lax with what we do, just working on letters, numbers, and whatever else. I'm very child-led with him, so whatever, I'll ask him, like, well, what do we want to learn about today? What do you want to do? And shuttling, of course, I gotta get her to school at 8:15, and I pick her up in the afternoon. And then when my son's there, then I drop him off as well. The thing about enrichment programs is that they are all different. They all have different type of programs that they offer, scheduling. There's some that are a la carte, so if I wanted to go with a different enrichment program, it could be something like Monday and Wednesday they go, and it could be maybe just like half a day, and they're there for just a couple classes. So depending on what suits your family, depending on what enrichment program you choose, again, keep in mind of the traffic, if it's like not local, it'll just depend on what you choose for your family.
Okay, so at our dual immersion, it is a public choice school, so we do follow the times as most public schools do. Our school starts at 8:30 and gets out at 2:45 with a early release on Wednesday, which is 1:30, 1:45. With dual immersion, it is a lot more effort because they're learning a second language, and they need to have, so ours is the Spanish speaking, so they need to have Spanish speaking at home, whether that's through TV Spanish programs or a tutor, or if you speak Spanish yourself, then you can work with them, and they expect you to speak and read in Spanish at home. 30 minutes of reading per evening, and then they have some programs, iStation, or you could do Duolingo, any kind of those programs you can use to help enrich their Spanish learning. The school, in the beginning when we started there, did offer a Spanish enrichment program after school. They no longer do that unless you're in the aftercare program. So that is not offered anymore. I don't actually put any time into the lesson planning because it's all done for us. And I believe they did offer at one time different types of classes after school, like music, art, and things of that sort, but those have also gone lately.
Well, since we are private affidavit homeschoolers, everything falls on me. Typically, I have one kid who is an early riser, and sometimes he's downstairs doing his math on the computer when I come down to get my coffee. That's not my other children. We usually start the day sometime between 8 and 9. My 13-year-old closer to 9. Because I do like them to get their rest, and he needs more than his brothers. My youngest, he's in first grade. It takes us a couple of hours. I try to knock it out right away, but sometimes it's like just poked into holes in my day between taking care of household things or being available to my older kids for their questions and their needs. I choose all of the curriculum, and most of the curriculum that I have chosen has a suggested schedule, so I don't really assign anything except that I write a checklist for my boys each week, or sometimes we do a daily list, just so we kind of stay on target to finish most of it by my hopeful end of school year date. But it's very flexible, and on the weekend maybe I put an hour into like seeing where we're at, how much progress we've made on the curriculum, what did they not complete that we maybe need to circle back on, and that's about it for my planning.
So with the charter homeschool, very similar to just straight homeschool, but we're a public charter, so we do have to show what we're doing. For instance, today at 1, I have a meeting on Zoom with my children and a credentialed teacher to say, okay, here are the standards we've met. But I've chosen all the curriculum. If we do anything with religious content, that's not going to be a work sample that we share with the credentialed teacher, even though she's okay with us doing that. We just need to show something from a secular curriculum. But I think it's very personality based. In our household, at least, we have the 13-year-old who's very type A. He'll be up at 7 o'clock, dressed head to toe. His shoes don't come off until he goes to bed that night. He'll have his room all cleaned and made and starting school, and he can be done with school at 10 a.m. on his own. Our 9-year-old, who is surprised he has to wear clothes every day, and I think one of his shoes is on our roof. Every day he's surprised that it's school too. We say, okay, we have school to do. Aww. And I mentioned the 10-month-old who doesn't sleep, so mom and dad don't sleep, so our days are very flexible, but we still need to provide that we are accomplishing work, and we have some testing to do, but it's our choice what curriculum we want and how we want to accomplish the educational goals.
So now we're going to talk about how your school choice fits into your life financially. So does your school cost? How much? Or I don't know if you want to say a number, but just like how does that work for your family? And if it does cost, are there like scholarships or that kind of thing? And just what does that look like? So we'll start here.
Me again? Okay. So to be very honest, the reason we first chose this charter is there was a rumor going around that they would pay for Disneyland tickets. And I think they used to, but they don't anymore. But we get state funding. Since it's public charter, we get a planning amount. It doesn't go to our bank account, but it goes to an account, and that's where we can buy all of our curriculum. I know some people who use their entire amount for dance lessons. I mean, anything that falls under the purview of what the school is willing to say, yeah, we can see that. Horseback riding lessons, anything like that. So I think it's $3,600, $3,800. Yeah, you get for the year per student, and you can use it for curriculum, extracurriculars, and you just can't use it to redesign a room to turn it into a home office or something like that.
I'm going to jump real quick. We use a similar charter. So you can't get Disneyland, but you can get like the zoo or SeaWorld or things like that, like aquariums, passes, or tickets, and then also like your books and all that stuff. So anything that you use up, you keep. Anything that someone else could use, like a reading book that you would buy with your funds, when you leave the school, you have to give it back. But there's a lot of things that you can use up, or like tickets that you don't obviously have to return.
Okay, so we pay for all of the things that we do. And I think we might spend, some curriculums are very inexpensive and some are more expensive. Sometimes we have purchased used, sometimes we've purchased new. I think we spent $2,000 or $3,000 this past year on curriculum for our 3 children, because much of it can be reused with the younger ones. So it's been gradual. Many curriculum companies will have discounts for active duty military or clergy members. So I always look into that. I discovered one recently that offered like 40% off to military families, and I didn't know about it, and I've been buying it for a couple years. So from a cheaper source, not direct from the publisher, so I wasn't paying full price. But those are good things to know. And yeah, the reason that we've homeschooled in 4 different states, and this is the first state that we lived in that I knew offered public funding. At the time, I was in my 3rd year when we first moved here last time, and I'm being a type A person who wants to check the boxes, puts a lot of stress on myself to make sure that my kids are getting what they need. I chose not to go with the charter because for me, it would stress me out to have to check in with somebody. And we do testing at home once a year, standardized testing just to kind of see where they're at, so I can check it, but nobody's looking over my shoulder. For me and my personality, it's too much for me because I'm always talking myself off that ledge anyway. So, yeah.
So we're a public choice, so we do not actually pay to go to school. However, if your child is a Spanish learner, having an option of having a tutor or having extra programs like Duolingo or Rosetta Stone, those would cost more money. And you wouldn't need scholarships or financial aid to go there because it is a public choice school.
So for enrichment programs, there are a couple that don't accept charter funds. We homeschool through a charter, so we do use our charter funds to help offset the cost for that. Depending on which program you choose, which enrichment program you choose, it may take up the entire amount, or it can take up just a little bit. And then for like tutoring, if you need it, you can use the charter funds if you were to need tutoring or anything like that. But also if you do use, and I'm not talking about charter schools, but if you were to use a charter school, you can also get a lot of things through them too, aside from your charter funds.
So my kids attend public school. It's completely free. They also provide free breakfast, free snack, and free lunch to all kids regardless of parent income, and that's every day. They also provide the free lunch during the breaks and the summers as well, if needed. And then they also have a free intersession, which is like daycare, during the Christmas break, spring break, available for kids. They also have before school care from 6 to when school starts, and then after school care until 6 p.m., which does cost money, but if you qualify low income, it can be free to you. The aftercare and before care as well. They are provided, all the kids have a Chromebook that they're able to keep and take home as long as they're in the district, and that is completely free as well. The field trips are free. Pretty much everything is free. The sports teams after school are free. The only thing you need to buy is, like, my son does soccer, we have to buy him cleats, but pretty much no cost to the parent.
Sherry, that's a tough act to follow. I think you said free 12 times. I'm like, oh my, I'm sweating. So private school is not free. Oh, this is funny. I did a quick Google search, and you can, of all the semi-local schools that are K through 12 in our areas, and they're all actually very similar in the cost, and it starts lower and it kind of builds as they go into high school. There's always like a sports fee, which I don't know if that's normal for even public school. It sounds like might not be, but there's a sports fee, and so anything extra does cost a little bit. It's not like too much at all, but there is financial aid available, and so you can apply through a third party, give them all your financials, and then they decide how much you are or should be awarded based on your income. And so I know that is a blessing to a lot of families. They do a lot of neat fundraisers. Every other year they switch off between a gala and a festival, and there's our fundraisers and lots of community. There's endowment. A lot of people just love the school and believe in it and donate. Because they do truly teach from a biblical worldview in every subject. I'm amazed. Our parent-teacher conferences that we have once a year, you sit down and they pray with you and they love your child, and it is just a wonderful thing. And there are many people that believe in it and just want to give to help families. And that is a blessing to a lot of people. So don't be afraid by the sticker shock. It doesn't always mean that's what you'll pay. And so that's my encouragement.
I'm representing the homeschool groups and co-ops again. Nothing's free, but there's so much flexibility in what you do. So a homeschool group could just be two families that gather together and say, we're going to meet together twice a week, we're going to read the same books, and we're going to go out on outings to explore places together. And that just fits into your regular household budget, and you just have support because you've got friendships and you've got community, and you have creativity with others. That can be a homeschool group. I've done that, especially when my children are younger. Being part of a larger group, it can still be the same thing. You can meet once a month, you can meet once a week, you can meet a few times a week, and the amount of money that you spend just depends on what you as moms together decide. Sometimes a homeschool group will hire a teacher to teach a subject, or will decide to go on an outing that you have to buy tickets for, and that has to just fit into your regular budget of your own household. There is no supplement for any of that, especially if it's Christian-based. And so that is a cost that has to be considered, but there is so much room for creativity. A lot of the places in San Diego County have free homeschool days to go visit, the zoos, the museums. Some of them it's for a whole month, some of them it's for one day a month. You just kind of have to start finding out that information. Books can be obtained from the library system, and you don't have to stay at the library that's just right here. You can visit libraries all over, and then those libraries are often interconnected with other libraries. I've gotten a library book. It took a long time to get to me, but it came from Montana. And we just needed that for a specific subject that we were investigating. So there's a gamut, there's a wide range, and you can make it fit whatever your personal budget is. There's a lot of flexibility.
Hello. Okay. So for the hybrid public charter, it doesn't cost anything. It's public. So if you choose their curriculum, it doesn't cost anything. If you choose your own curriculum, then you'll get funds for it. So mine is free.
Okay. If you can keep this short, and then if people have more questions on the side, because I want to give you time for the last question before we go over there. So just briefly about, we've already mentioned some, but like extracurriculars, after school programs, or resources if like your child needed help academically, like just what does your school offer for those extra things?
So extracurricular activities, there's dance, there's all the typical things, soccer, gardening. They have, if your student needed like an IEP or a 504, they can accommodate those. They also have counselors on campus for social, emotional classes or support.
For homeschool groups, your support, again, is kind of what's available to the rest of the public. So tutoring clubs, regular tutors, any kind of academic support. One of the beautiful things, again, is partnering with other homeschool moms, and one mom, her strength will complement my weakness, and my strength will complement her weakness, and we collaborate that way. And that's just part of being connected to a community and working together with others. And again, that doesn't have to have a cost to that. You can share, doing life together really is what that's about.
So we love the extracurricular activities. That's a big one for our family, and I can quickly explain why. This was a blessing in disguise, and I didn't see this through, but I think there's wisdom in mentioning it to you. If you have athletic children, they will benefit from a private school, and here's why. In my marriage with there was a tug and a pull. I grew up playing soccer, the best sport in the world, and so of course I was like, let's put our kids in soccer, and we're going to be there every Saturday. And my husband's like, no, I like to go here on the weekends. And so it was like always. So my kids kind of like, we put them in soccer some of the time they didn't. So they weren't like these stellar athletes, but they do have athletic ability. And so, I started seeing just this idea where they were able to just jump into all the sports they wanted to play. And it was such a blessing because they were really good for our tiny little school because there's only 20 kids to pick from. And so that's been a huge blessing just to be able to see just to be able to dive in and do that as a family and be really involved with that. So I would give that like an A+, like huge thing that we love about our school. And the other things, they have musicals once a year for each grade level, or each, they chunk them up or whatever. And so that's built into the school. So if you have an elementary kid, they're in the musical, they are escorted across the street, and that's where they do it in the theater on the other side of campus. There's elementary at our schools there's just like a small road in between. And so that's kind of nice as far as extracurriculars being built into the school. So you're dropping off at 8, and then you might not pick up your child until 4:30. Our kids are high school, so oftentimes, if there isn't a game, we go and watch the games, of course. But if there isn't a game, they have regular practice. Sometimes they're not getting home till 6 at night. But that's just kind of what our life is. And so other extracurriculars, music is built in. So there's concerts at night, beautiful choir concerts that are worship also involved in that. And then instruments, they all learn instruments, which is amazing. And those can be after school, stuff like that. You mentioned tutoring. We have, my third child does not like school very much. I thought I was a really good mom until I had Cannon, and I'm like, oh, it was just my other two like school, and it was easy. So they have, if your kid struggles with their trumpet playing, it's a small school, and they marry. It's a neat relationship between the high schoolers and the elementary, or like the older high schoolers. So he's getting tutored by a senior, and so it's just right after school, and then he can go straight to soccer practice. So all that stuff's just built in, and it's really kind of keeps your life a little bit neat and tidy. You're not running around all over the place necessarily, and that's a neat blessing.
Okay, so my daughter, who's now 12, was born very premature at 29 weeks and 2 pounds, 8 ounces. So she was very developmentally delayed. Initially, she got resources through the regional center. And then one of the reasons we did choose public school is that she was able to get services for free through the public school during school hours. So she was able to get PT, OT, and speech with a licensed professional, and have an IEP plan to address all those issues, set goals for her, and help her as long as she needed until she met those goals and was at grade level academically and physically. So they do have the resources at the public school provided free. If your child qualifies, they did testing for her, and I really feel like that was a benefit. Now she's been exited from her IEP, but she does still have a 504, which is a medical plan where they make accommodations in the classroom to meet her needs that she has. So those are benefits of the public school. They, by law, have to provide those services if your child qualifies. Extracurricular activities, at the local elementary school, they do have a credentialed music teacher. The kids all get music every week. They also have now a farm school teacher at the local elementary school. They have they have a farm classroom, and they have animals on campus. And at the middle school, they have the sports, they have dances. My daughter does show choir. She was able to go with her show choir and sing the national anthem at the Padres game. They also go and do other really awesome field trips and lots of opportunities for public school. And they also have band, too.
So I just want to quickly add onto the public schools, since charter schools are public schools as well, you can get services through charter schools as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. So with enrichment programs, you may or may not get it within the program, an extracurricular activity, but for those like a la carte type of enrichment programs, you may be able to like get the music, or say if you take a PE class or whatever for your child. But in general, that comes after school for separate, you know, either on your own dime or charter funds.
Okay, so we are public choice. So again, you do get resources. You do rate it in public schools if you qualify, but sometimes kids are right on the edge and maybe they don't necessarily qualify for an IEP. Um, at which point, trying to get resources for a kid that's not quite over the edge or doesn't quite rate for the IEPs, those ones are a little more difficult. With the dual immersion, if your child does have academic struggles, it would be a really hard choice to stay in a school like that. Um, Typically, kids that have dyslexia or things of that sort, learning a second language at a young age would be really difficult. Extracurriculars, the school does offer extracurriculars. There is Saturday programs where you can learn in the park, and they'll do different types of like art and learning Spanish together. So they bring the community together doing stuff like that. They do have, or they have in the past had classes after school. I haven't seen a flyer for them yet, but as far as sports go, because we are at elementary school, we do not have sports at our school. And they do have an after-school program offered, and there's usually a wait list on it, and it's typically offered to kids that can be in it full-time Monday through Friday. So it's not something that's offered to every kid.
We utilize community sports wherever we happen to be living at the time. Sometimes they're offered on the base. Sometimes it's the wrestling club out in town or the swim school. Here, two of my boys do judo, and we pay the family rate. It's great. They both go at the same time. It's cheaper. And then we find a piano teacher because all of my boys take piano lessons. So we just look for someone that can teach the curriculum that we've already been learning and that is in the price range that we're hoping for, and hopefully proximity to our house. That just requires Googling and word of mouth and Facebook, and I just hunt around because it's on me to find what they're interested in and if it's available where we live. And sometimes it changes because it's not available where we live, and they've been very flexible.
I don't think I need to add very much, just because charter was a little bit covered. We have resources if we were in need of a team to establish an IEP or something like that. And extracurriculars can be anywhere from the very academic, like an online math class, to parkour lessons and drum lessons, and we've kind of taken advantage of all those things.
Okay, I was kind of waiting to see what our other homeschool people were sharing. So I have two athletes in my little troop, and one of the things we as a family appreciate is often sports are in the afternoons and the evenings and can go long. And so what that does, especially when they're younger, the following day, being able to be at home and rest in the morning made a big difference for them growing up. And we just felt like we were a little healthier. We had a rhythm that flowed a little bit more. I have one who graduated, she's very much an athlete, is currently playing for Mesa College down in San Diego. And she has played in multiple local club athletics, but we did enroll at a charter school for her junior and senior year. And she was able to play athletics. She did all of her studies at home or actually at Palomar and at Miramar, and then at home as well. And then as for homeschool groups, particularly an extracurricular, you can create an extracurricular opportunity to design it perfectly for your family and for your child, and it doesn't have to be late at night. It doesn't have to be at the end of the day. It could be in the morning. It could be the bulk of some of the days of your week, and that was something that we really appreciated as a family, being able to make that part of our earlier day. So in terms of groups, one of the things that I do is coordinate groups here in Fallbrook, and we offer earlier in the day, just to have help you know what we have going on right here in Fallbrook. There are theater programs, there are sports and athletics programs. We have ceramics class going on at the School of the Arts that we've coordinated. We have French, we have Spanish, we have art classes for younger kids where we bring in artists, and those sometimes are thematic and sometimes it's master's program where they learn about the masters. There are athletics and sports. We have coaches that come and teach the kids actual sports skills, science programs, science labs. The students are doing scientific labs weekly. So all of that is available right here in Fallbrook. You don't have to travel outside of Fallbrook until your children get more and more specialized into their skills, which is one of the beautiful things about homeschooling, is being able to support them right who they are and what their interests are, and being able to design that earlier in their lives. So one of my children is not an academic. He does have processing disorders. He has reading disorder. He will not be going to college, but he's in high school, and he is interning for a welder already, and that's part of his academic education. And to be able to do that when he's 15 instead of waiting until he's 18, 19, 20 is a pretty neat way to design a high school opportunity for your child who's not going to be in the books, because that's not who he is, and that's totally fine. So I just wanted to share that there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of really neat opportunities with public schools, private schools, homeschool groups, charter schools. I mean, it's all there and it's available, and you can feel empowered to kind of create what works for your family rhythm.
Thank you. Okay, the final question is less about the facts and more about your heart as a mom. So feel free to you don't have to share just about your school type. This is more about you and your journey. So if you guys could just share with us what's the most challenging thing for you, and maybe the most joyful or the best thing about being a part of your child's education.
My oldest is going to be in high school next year, and I just cannot believe how fast it is going. And I'm nearing the end of my nursing journey with my almost 1-year-old, and I can't believe how fast that is going. So it is a joy to have all of this extra time with them. I just want to hold on to every second of it. I love their innocent hearts. They've seen the world. They know what's out there, but I love watching their personalities. And a challenge, my husband now teaches math to most of them, but our oldest one, who's just always struggling with math, said, "What, are you trying to kill me?" And my husband said, "No, if I were trying to kill you, it would be easier. I'm trying to teach you math." And then we looked around and all the windows were open in our house, and so he said, "And scene." Just trying to make it seem like a play. That's one of your Fallbrook pastors, by the way. So the challenge is that relationships are involved while you're teaching, and you might struggle with them as a messy person, and that's going to translate a little bit to their school, or just however the personalities work, and just making sure that we are still growing and maturing together as a family. It's very sanctifying.
I'll start with the challenges after that. It is very sanctifying. The first year that I started kindergarten, I realized I am very selfish with my time, and I didn't like that I wasn't infinitely flexible anymore. And it just has opened my eyes to some of my sin. I like to control. Maybe it seems like you could do that in homeschool, but I cannot control my children. They are their own people. Sometimes they want to work, and sometimes they don't, and that can be aggravating, and I can take it personally. So it's really, I feel like the Lord refines me every day. I learn to apologize a lot. I get overstimulated, and so I have to set limits on certain things in our house. But it is a joy to spend the time with my kids and, like Lauren said, see their personalities develop, see how different they are, see what interests them, watch their relationships with each other, and children and adults of many ages that they can interact with throughout our days, and have conversations about tough topics with them that either come up in our schooling or the news that we watch, or just stuff that goes on in the world. Being able to, they come to me and they ask me questions and see how insightful they are and what they're learning, and talking them through it has been a privilege.
Wow, the biggest challenge, this one's kind of hard because I think right now I'm kind of going through the biggest challenge with educating my kids, because one of my kids is struggling. And we're making changes, but it's hard when you have one kid that's doing well and one, my oldest does well in school, so you expect that's how it's going to go. And then my youngest doesn't want anything to do with school. And if you ask him to do anything, he says no and runs away. So my biggest challenge right now is trying to find what's going to be the best learning style for him while still allowing my oldest child to grow as well. I've been really encouraged hearing about how many choices and how many times people have changed schools. Because it is, I don't do well with change, and I am very type A as well. But I will say my biggest joy has always been, we do a lot of learning on the road. We go traveling, we get to go see new places, and every time I go somewhere new, we find something historical, something like a national landmark, and we learn by doing, which has been so fun because the kids get to play and do things that way, and that's kind of like my joy in teaching my kids the things that I love, but they actually get to learn as they go as well.
So, with me, my biggest challenge has, like I mentioned at the beginning, has been my health, because we always knew that we were going to homeschool. It was scary to know, like, I have to homeschool, and I don't know what that's going to look like because of my challenges. So, being able to utilize an enrichment program that can do the majority of it for me has been such a blessing, and just watching them learn, just thrive in their academic and their social skills, and it's been amazing watching them grow and learn, and still being, since we're technically homeschoolers, it's been a blessing. I love it, and there's other families that maybe have to work full-time or part-time, so that also is a blessing for them because they can utilize these types of programs for their family as well.
So our biggest challenge right now is that my daughter is a morning person and she wants to get to school at 7:30 when the gate opens, and my son would prefer to sleep in and get there when the bell rings. So that's our daily struggle. But as a mom, the real challenge was letting my kids go and fend for themselves and not having the control that I have at home, and letting them be in the public school, choose their own friends, and find their way. But on the other flip side, that's also exactly what brought me joy, was knowing that what the work we've put in at home has made them who they are, and given them the foundation they need to go out into school and make the right choices. So when I see them choose like-minded friends or friends with Christian values and know that school is a priority and come home and want to get their homework done and make the honor roll, like those are all the little wins in my heart when I know they're doing those things on their own without me.
So the challenge would come with something that is actually a positive thing. It would be just the academics of the school. It's very challenging, and they do have homework. I should have mentioned that before, but there's a homework load, and my youngest, now that we're with him, so my oldest graduated and is now actually graduating college in 3 years, and so that's a testimony to the fact that it does prepare you well. But then on the other hand, if you have a child that does not love school, that's challenging, and just and unfortunately, it's when I'm most tired because it's my third kid. I'm like, trying to just constantly keep up with that. But so that is a challenge that's real, because we probably don't have all academic kids. I'm sure most people have some in between. And then a beautiful thing is that my two boys, my daughter's in the middle, but my two boys were sitting at the table, and Cannon went through this stage where he decided he wanted to go to public high school. Mom, Dad, can you please put me? I want to go here. We're like, no, you can't. You're going to be at Calvin. And so I want to encourage you first that it's your choice where your kids go. Don't forget that. I see sometimes when the kids have a choice later on, it confuses things, and they often go back and forth, and it just seems confusing. But I also want to add that, so they're talking around the table. Cannon's bugging us about it, pestering us, and we're just like, no, Cannon. And Wyatt looked at him, our oldest, who was then in college, and he said, Cannon, if it wasn't for Calvin, I would not be where I am today. And, he just shared his deep faith was rooted in that, and he knew that if he had been surrounded by other kids or influences, he would have struggled, and that's not the case for all kids. I know a lot of solid, beautiful kids are a light in a public setting, but that to me was like a treasure I stored, because I'm like, okay, that alone, like Wyatt's heart for the Lord, and that he's sold out in college at the age he's at, made it all worth it. And that also tags on to the other downside, is that I'm not home with my kids. And that is hard. And I feel very strongly my call has been in ministry, and so that's our story, and everyone has a different one, but that is a loss. I don't have my kids, and I have to just make sure that when they're home and in the morning that I am on. I make hot breakfast every morning. So it's like I make up for that lost time as best I can, by being at every game, by doing all the things I can do, driving as much as I can, chaperoning as much as I can. But that would be part of our story, a beautiful part of our story. But I also want to encourage you to tag on to what Becky said. I love that she said it's okay to change and change and change, and I think we've all kind of confirmed that. That's okay. Another thing to consider is that, if you're sitting here and you're just like stressed about it, it's a stressful thing, especially if your oldest is about to go into TK or kindergarten. But then think about that God operates outside of choice A, B, or C. That if we're praying, if we're planning, if we're researching, if we're seeking the Lord's wisdom and guidance and discernment, and we still can't decide, that God is so much bigger than that, and sometimes he's like, you get to choose A, B, or C, and I'm going to bless you, whichever choice you make. And I firmly believe that, and I hope that encourages you.
The hardest part about my personal homeschool mom, really just mom educational journey, is me, just to be totally honest. I get in the way, and God had to grow me so much outside of my little box that I thought was huge, and really just expand my mind, expand my heart, expand my willingness to be flexible, expand my willingness to accept that other people have really great ideas and can do things better than I can, and that my children are their own people. And the most beautiful part about homeschooling personally is the relationships, it's the connectedness, it's the growth over time among other people, specifically my children and my husband. It's that Christ-centered relationship that has extended all the way into adulthood now, and we're still connected. And every child is connected differently, and the way that looks in their lives looks different. And it's pretty fun. It's enjoyable now to be able to recognize that the traits I saw in them when they were 2 are still there when they're 20. As far as homeschool groups, the hardest part about homeschool groups is also the most beautiful part about working in a homeschool group, and that's the people. Rubbing shoulders with others is not easy work. It's difficult. Being in people's homes, working together for an end goal, especially with our most precious people in our lives, can be hard. But it's also the most beautiful part of being in homeschool groups. It's so much beauty in the body of Christ, and living that out weekly and daily with other people who are seeking Him is one of the greatest joys as well.
I was actually going to say the same thing. My biggest challenge is me. Being patient with my kids, not doing the problems for them. I've already passed school. So if they're sitting there struggling with a problem and you're like, it is 6, can't you see that? Being patient, keeping your cool, allowing them to be their own person. Yeah, my biggest challenge is me. The greatest joy is really seeing your little one go from not recognizing numbers or letters, and now they're reading, and you were a big part of that. And you're like, I helped do that. And also knowing, or like seeing them struggle with things in school and then achieve it and understand it, and then seeing them on the playground and just knowing your child in a different way that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't get the opportunity to homeschool. So, yeah.
Thank you, ladies, for being vulnerable with us and sharing all your experiences. Can we give them a thank you round of applause? Thank you so much. So I don't know where she went. Oh, is it pickup time? So these ladies are going to go to the side over here, and I believe that you have to pick up your kids, but they're going to be able to stay, or some of them, if they can, for a little while. So you can get your kids and come back in here, and then you can question them further if you'd like. And here's Jessica. Wait, don't go. Okay, sorry.
Thank you so much, panelists. Can we give them a round of applause? Okay, really quick, I want to play a super quick video. It's our Mama Bear. We've got one more chance to plug it in. Sorry, childcare. If you won tickets for Mama Bear and you can make it and you need childcare, tell your table leader or come find me. We'll get the video. But we've got, so a sweet night, Mama Bear. It's free childcare. It costs $15. We'll have sweets in the back. And Amy Davidson is podcaster, host of Mama Bear Apologetics. She's got a little video for us.
Hey Riverview Church, my name is Amy Davidson, and I'm a writer and podcast host with Mama Bear Apologetics, a ministry dedicated to helping you raise children who think critically, love biblically, and stand firm in the faith. Well, mark your calendars, because on February 19th, we are having a sweet night for just the ladies of the church. That night, we're going to gather together and tackle a really heavy subject within our culture, which is understanding transgenderism. We're going to look at the history
Okay, so now you have a little bit more information on that. Invite your friends, your moms, your grandmas. We're just in this culture where we, maybe you've got little babies and you're like, I don't need to think about this now, but it's here. It's in our cartoons. It's so much. It's so many places, and we have this culture of it. So why not equip yourself of learning about it and how we can look at it through the lens of Scripture, and give you some tools and resources. So Wednesday night is the sweet night, and then she's actually going to come back the next morning and talk to us at MomLife. So that's our next MomLife speaker. So go get your kiddos and come back up. Have a good week.